Hi, Karen here, and in this video, I want to talk about when it's too much too soon when it comes to homeschooling. I often see comments like this, or I've gotten emails where parents are stressed out and wondering why their children are so resistant to learning how to read, to progressing, to moving ahead. Maybe they're just reading out loud to them, but the kids are not understanding what they're reading. So they get to the end and then the parents ask them, what was the chapter about? And they just blank out and they have no idea. This causes frustration for the parents and for the kids. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why that is, why that happens, and the dangers of taking this approach of too much too soon. What are the three kind of secret ingredients when it comes to teaching a child how to read in a very loving, nurturing, organic way? And some resources in case you really are just kind of chomping at the bit to do something at age 3 or 4 that is not going to be a detriment and hurt your relationship and the overall homeschooling experience. So let's get started. All right, so first of all, let's talk about what I mean about too much too soon. I'm talking about parents who are kind of pushing this at 3, 4, this whole learning how to read, getting started on the book list. Now, if that's your situation and your child is thriving and they love it, you love it, everybody's on board and they're thriving, they just have these capabilities that are just amazing, and you didn't hinder or hurt your relationship and pushing them too fast, too soon, then great, who am I to say? Great, keep going. However, majority, like 99% of the emails and comments that I see on this, it's not that case, where it's actually they saw something maybe on YouTube or somebody else who started, I kind of have one of the books here, like teaching their baby how to read, or, oh, I could do that, or just starting really early, too much too soon. And what ends up happening is maybe at first the kid is on board, it's fun, it's a game, but parents can go too much and the kid is resisting. The child is saying, no, this is too much, I want to take a break, I just want to play. And the parents are like, no, you need to do this, or you need to finish the lesson, or you need to do this. They're pushing. And what ends up happening is that the kids then end up like resenting the formal instructional time. They don't want to learn how to read, they don't want to read, and then the parents are really unhappy. So that whole scenario, starting early, even if the kid is up for it at first, but then after pushing too much, because you see a little bit of results, you're like, oh yeah, this is working, and you're pushing too much, and then the child's like, no, this is not fun anymore, what's going on? And they're resisting it, and they're not finding reading enjoyable. So let's talk about what happened there. I don't think it's so much an issue of starting too early, starting too soon, but it's more of an issue of your approach. Remember that you are a parent first and foremost, and your job is to create and build that nurturing, loving relationship with your child. And it's a little bit tricky when we're homeschooling because the role of parent and teacher can kind of blur and merge together, where you're either teaching all the time or you're just being kind of relaxed and letting the kids get away with everything. You're just kind of being like this fun mom all the time. So the struggle is really into finding that balance. Now at RC, I love it because you don't have to really try to find that balance. You just teach them how to read and help them memorize their math facts, just instruct them on how to do so, and then they take care of their own education. So you are free to be the parent and to do those parental activities such as reading aloud to them and building that relationship, instead of just thinking, I'm teaching, right? So that's the beauty of RC. That's one of the reasons why I love it. You can kind of just take that off your shoulders. But I realize for a lot of parents that's kind of blurring everything together, where I'm a homeschool mom and they're blurring the two titles together. Realize that Homeschooling is something that you do, and mom is who you are. And one example that I can give you to illustrate this is, for example, one of your kids is reading a book and they struggling to sound out a word, and they'll say, "Hey mom, what does this word say?" And you're like, "Well, sound it out. Let's do our phonics. What does the PH sound? I can't believe you don't know." Instead of just being the parent and saying what the word is. "Oh, that word is this," so that they can go on and enjoy their book. Realize that that whole other part is the instructional reading time. So separate the two, right? You have your instructional reading time, and that's when you focus on the phonics and the, all the learning how to read. But realize too that you're a parent, and when it comes to them just reading books recreationally on their own during the day, just tell them what the word means, okay? So that's kind of an example. It's hard to convey this thought, of the whole homeschooling something that you do, but remember, mom is who you are. And I think a pitfall for homeschooling moms could be to kind of lose this just being mom and focusing so much on the academics all the time, teaching all the time, too much, too soon. Now, I highly, highly recommend this book, Reading Magic by Mem Fox. It really will show you this idea of, just encouraging a love of reading by doing nurturing, loving things that parents should do, such as just reading aloud to them. So if a child is struggling with reading, you should read aloud to them more, and I'm going to get into some reasons why. If a child is struggling when they're reading, you're having them read out loud to you, and they're taking so long to pronounce the words, and by the time they get to the end of the sentence, paragraph, chapter, and you ask them, "Oh, what was the book about?" They have no idea. They need you at that point to read aloud to them more versus you having them practice by just reading aloud more to you. That's just the wrong approach. It's torturous. They're going to resist it and hate it even more. So, because it's possible to be able to read something without having any kind of understanding or comprehension what it is they just read. And this is something that I hear a problem often. So let's talk about how we can avoid this. There are 3 secrets when it comes to just teaching kids in a very loving, natural, organic way how to read. And I'm not saying don't do instructional phonics reading time. That's part of it, but that's just one part of it. And often what happens is when parents focus so much on just one of these 3 to the exclusion of the other, it has detrimental effects. That's why I really want you to hear me out on these 3 secrets of reading. So the first one is the magic of print. And again, this comes a lot with reading aloud. When you're reading aloud to your kids, they're seeing the print. They're seeing where you break. This is like a, how can I explain it? This is like hieroglyphics to them when they first see this, right? When they first see print on the page. The more that you read aloud to them, the more the print starts to make sense. And they see the table of contents, and they see the periods where you stop, and they see the exclamations where you, read it really loudly, and all of it. The more that you read aloud to them, they're really picking up on this magic of print. The second secret of reading is the magic of language, the English language. The more that they are exposed to correct grammar, pronunciation, and sure, the English language, the better it will be, easier it will be for them to learn how to read. This is why we do not do baby talk. I'm not a fan of that. You'd be surprised the vocabulary that my 4-year-old uses. I mean, she constantly just makes us laugh by the things that she says, the vocabulary that she has. And I really do attribute that to the fact that because she is the youngest, she kind of gets the short end of the stick sometimes, and the read alouds that I do with the family before bedtime are kind of geared towards the older children, the 14-year-old, 13-year-old, 10-year-old. I still do, read some of the younger books, or the younger kids will read baby books, toddler books, preschool books to her. But if I only have time to read one chapter before bedtime to the whole family, I'm going to pick the book for the oldest because I want to obviously keep them engaged and use this as just a form of bonding and showing them that love and time as they get older. So she's hearing Jane Eyre, she's hearing, these older books, and they pick up the vocabulary, they really do. So the more you can expose them to just the English language, the better. This is why we're not a fan of these dinky cartoon shows where everything maybe is dumbed down or anything like that. Remember that you are really teaching by example here. And sometimes I know that we are so busy, especially if maybe you're working from home parent, we forget to just teach our kids nursery rhymes. I'm talking like just old-fashioned Mother Goose nursery rhymes, Jack and Joe and Up the Hill, Mary Had a Little Lamb. Because if you're showing them a poem like this, Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure too. They just can say go, and now they know that word, and because obviously it rhymes, and they're looking at the word as you're reading it. So rhymers are readers. Again, just the more you can expose them to the English language, the better. Now, the third secret is just general knowledge. And this is why I hear in the camps of later is better. And in those early years, they just focus on all kinds of other things like playing and crafts and maybe other subjects. There is some positive in that. Obviously, I think you still need to teach them how to read and, by a certain age and everything. But general knowledge does make you a better reader when you start reading. Think about this. Think about a book. You obviously know how to read. You watching this video, you know how to read. But if you were to sit down and read a book on a very difficult subject, or, I think about maybe when I sat down and tried to read one of the higher up RC books by Sir Isaac Newton, that could be a little difficult. There's another book that I'm reading, like a very old 18th century, maybe like poetry storybook. Even though I know how to read, and I guess this is how kids feel, I know how to read, but I'm not comprehending it because I don't have any kind of general knowledge of what I'm reading, the subject matter or the language used in context, whatever it may be. So this is how kids feel, where they can read something, but then they can't tell you what they just read. They have no reading comprehension. They need more general knowledge. And so this is something that we as parents need to work on providing. And I'm going to give you some ideas and examples in a little bit. So those are the 3 secrets to reading. The magic of print, kind of deciphering that code. Then there's also just the English language, just hearing it. And then there's also general knowledge about the world that we live in, everything around us. Now, I'm definitely not arguing the case against phonics. Phonics is very important. Alpha Phonics comes with RC Online. I use Alpha Phonics in my RC course for littles. That's what I recommend. But keep this in mind that don't just focus on going through the lessons of Alpha Phonics and calling it a day. If you really want your child to love reading, have a good positive experience, don't start at 3 years old. Don't start too early that way and exclude the other things, the other pillars, the other secrets, right, of reading aloud to them, letting them see that magic of print in action, talking with them, using the English language, and just teaching them about the world around us. That is a recipe for a lovely childhood, especially the reading aloud. Again, if you have a child that's struggling with learning how to read, they're not comprehending, they're stumbling over their words, it takes them a really long time to read a word, the answer to that is not for you to keep forcing them to read aloud to you. That's making it worse. The answer is for you to read aloud more to them. That doesn't mean that they're out of the instructional reading time. Remember, there's 2 components to this. There's the instructional time, and there's just you being a parent, you just being a mom, and just enjoying books together. That's really going to go a long way if you're dealing with any kind of learning challenges or difficulty. Now, I totally get this and understand because I was once there. If you see my RC for Littles kind of a promo video, I was like this. I was all in, doing too much too soon. And I think in part that can be because, you're a stay-at-home mom and you're trying to kind of justify it a little bit more. Like the sooner you can start homeschooling, the more it's worth for you to stay home. Just lots of things like that. I understand. And maybe you're even a little bit bored being home with just really young children and you're looking for something to do and you're looking for something to bring some kind of order and structure to the day. So trust me, I understand. I've been there. And I've also seen the, how do I say this? I also see the outcome of that, and it wasn't good, and I regret it, and I wish that I could go back and take a different approach, the approach that I have now. Oh, I wish I could have, but I understand where I was at that moment. I had good intentions, and I'm sure every parent who goes down this road, they probably have good intentions. They're not trying to raise just some brainy baby for Jeopardy or something. They have good intentions. They want to be productive in the home. They want to bring order to the day. They want to be a good mother. They want to be a good homeschooler, etc., etc. But the outcome many times is not the desired result that you were looking for, and you can really do a lot of damage between the parent-child relationship. So be careful. Now, saying all that, I know there are some parents that just still really want to do something. And look, I went over the 3 secrets. There's a lot there. Reading aloud to your kids, just teaching them about the world, general knowledge, practicing just speaking English, nursery rhymes, that all right there is more than enough. So I just have a couple recommendations here if you really do want to start something, but you want a very just gentle approach. Now, Ella Francis Lynch, I just got her book, Educating the Child at Home, Personal Training and Work Habit. I haven't read it all. When I finish it, I will, let you know what I think of it. But I have her guide for the Book of Knowledge, and there's a preschool program for it that she put together using the Book of Knowledge. It will tell you to go to this page to teach your child about the sun as it's setting during the day, or cooking, or measurements. It's a really wonderful program. It's with RC in the bonus section, so I highly encourage you to check it out. And so she wrote this book. Now, glancing at it, I like what I'm seeing as far as teaching child habits in the home. And again, there's a lot that you could do there with teaching them how to do chores with you, being with you in the kitchen as you're preparing meals, lots of learning there as well. Poetry, teaching them poetry, reading them poems. So this is a classic series reprint that I purchased off of Amazon. But again, you can go to the RC bonuses and get her guide for preschool for the younger years. And I think it's perfect. If there's a preschool program, kindergarten program that I would recommend, it's that one. It's with the RC bonuses. You'll see the guide to the Book of Knowledge, and at the very end of that guide is the preschool kind of program. So highly recommend it. Again, obviously Reading Magic, I was talking about that in this video. Now, I know it seems like I was kind of dissing these books a little bit, and yeah, this whole teach your baby how to read, it's a little ridiculous, but I had these books in the very beginning after my first child. They're very kind of old school. How to teach your baby to read, how to multiply your baby's intelligence, and how to teach your baby math. But this is the book that I'm really a fan of, is How to Multiply Your Baby's Intelligence. And this goes really well with the secrets of reading, like in Reading Magic. So basically the premise of this, and this is so easy to do today with the internet and with tools like Canva, you can make your own cards. Just, get clip art or something of the image. You put it on a card, and yes, you teach them first crow. You show, this is supposed to be for a baby, but I would never do this with a baby. More like 4, 5 years old. You show them the picture of the crow. Once they know and recognize, oh yeah, that's a crow, then you take it up another notch, and you can write this on the back of the card. For example, the first magnitude of the program, as they call it, you teach them crows build nests in trees or bushes, and you talk about that, whatever. Once you show them the picture of the crow the next time and they say, that's a crow, and they build their nests in trees and bushes, then you can go to the second magnitude, which is crows' nests are made of twigs lined with grass or hair. So now you've taught them another fact about that. And then the one after that would be crows eat insects, seeds, fruits, and nuts. So again, it's just meant to be sort of a fun way to expand their general knowledge, which will make it very easy for them once they do start reading. Because if they're reading in the McGuffey's book, a book about a story about crows, and they're getting to a part of nest building and they're struggling with a word, they're going to be able to fill in the gaps and think, oh, I remember that. Maybe this word is twigs, does it start with a T and all of that? It really helps with all of that. doing something like this, just working on general knowledge. So again, I'm not saying you have to do any of this. I'm not saying I recommend it. I am actually doing this though with my 4-year-old, not my baby, but what it is just taking words nice and big, like these big index cards. And I started off with really fun words like her name, mom, dad, her brothers and sisters' names. And so, you're supposed to do it once a day, and then you work up to 3 times a day, and then you switch out the cards. You just show them the cards. First you say it, right? Like Sophie, mom, dad, Izzy, Ellie, so-and-so. And then she very quickly, like the same day, will be able to tell you each card, even if you mix them up, right? She's recognizing and learning, and you do that for a set number of days, and then you switch out the cards slowly. It's a whole process outlined here, but it doesn't take any time. And I'm not trying to spark a whole like phonics and whole language or look and say thing. It's just a game. It's just a fun game. And Reading Magic has also some fun games where you can take a card like this, cat, cut it up so each letter has its own little card. And then, okay, yeah, this is cat. And then take the C off and put a P. Same thing with Ruth Beechek and her guide on the McGuffey readers, or teaching kids how to read. The 3 R's, I believe it is, that book too. It just talks about games like that, switching out the letters. That's a very organic way and fun, a game to teach kids how to read. And another game that you can do is, for example, you have a page of a storybook and you say, okay, let's play a game. I'm going to pick a word, and then you pick a word, but it can't be with the same letter. You can't pick a word that has the same letter that I picked, and then you go back and forth like that. All those little things, just games, fun way to get ready to learn how to read. It will make the process of teaching your child how to read so much smoother and easier. And you're building relationships, you're creating that bond, you're teaching them nursery rhymes, you're reading aloud to them. I think that is a much better approach than just hardcore, just too much too soon, only focusing on phonics, only focusing on the academics. Remember, homeschooling is something that you do, but mom is who you are. So I know it's hard, but try not to get the two blurred into just one role. I hope this video made sense for you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'll link some of these resources, especially this. I just highly recommend this book. I'll link it down below. And yeah, if you have any questions or you want to continue this discussion in the comments, feel free. Let's talk about it, and I'll see you in another video. Guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more sustainable homeschooling content, make sure that you subscribe down below. Now, if you'd like to connect with me for live Q&A sessions, additional training, or to access my free 13-part video course on the Robinson curriculum, then please check out the links in the description below. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.